Now, personally, I think London is magical on its own. But if you want to take that to the next level, the Warner Brothers Studio Tour in Watford is a must. If you grew up reading or watching Harry Potter, then a visit to London should absolutely be on your bucket list. While there are Harry Potter filming locations all across the United Kingdom, there's no higher concentration of magical cinematic sites than in its capital city. While I normally focus on documenting the five senses of cities, countries, and natural landmarks all around the world, I myself grew up a huge Harry Potter fan, and so today, I'm mixing it up a little bit. Let's take a look at all of the Harry Potter sites I've visited on my most recent adventure into one of the world's greatest cities, London. Leadenhall Market. This first site sits right in the heart of the City of London, or the Square Mile, and is home to the entrance of the Leaky Cauldron in the first film. So Leadenhall Market, in the first Potter film, is the site of the Leaky Cauldron. This is where Hagrid and Harry find the hidden door that appears only to witches and wizards to enter the Leaky Cauldron and further to Diagon Alley. Leadenhall Market in general was also just kind of the inspiration for Diagon Alley as a whole. While Victoria Street in Edinburgh influenced the idea of Diagon Alley for J.K. Rowling, it's this Victorian arcade that inspired the winding alley we see in the films. Grimmauld Place. I like this neighborhood. It has a lot of Georgian charm, but it definitely seems like the kind of neighborhood that the Black family would live in. Our next Potter site sits in the London borough of Islington and is home to the aforementioned Wizarding Resistance. Number 12, Grimmauld Place. Of course, its real name is Claremont Square, but whoever lives in the home has definitely gotten in on the magical fun. Millennium Bridge. One of the newest additions to London's collection of famous bridges is the Millennium Bridge. Now, of course, in real life, the Millennium Bridge is still intact, but if you're familiar with Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, which if you're watching this video, I assume you are, it was destroyed right over the River Thames by Death Eaters. So, here in 2024, they've reconstructed the bridge, in case you were worried about it. Thanks to a little reparo action. Great Scotland Yard. In the city of Westminster sits a Potter location that may be easy to overlook, but it's the home to the entrance of the Ministry of Magic. You'll recognize this corner as the guest entrance from the Order of the Phoenix. Unfortunately, there's not actually a red telephone booth here. Or maybe there is. London's West End. In Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1, the trio apparates away from the Burrow and arrives right here at the heart of London's West End in Piccadilly Circus. Hermione mentions, in fact, that her parents used to take her here to the theater growing up. If you watch closely in The Half-Blood Prince, you'll also notice that London's West End is where the entrance to the Leaky Cauldron is located. At least this time around. King's Cross and St. Pancras. The dull, brown brick King's Cross station is a perfect metaphor for that transition between the Muggle and the magical world. Here, you get a sense of routine and day-to-day work, with passengers lining in quietly en route to wherever they're heading. Outside the train hall sits a recreation of the barrier to platform 9 3/4, where you can grab a picture with a luggage trolley stuck halfway between the worlds. Naturally, there's a Harry Potter-themed shop next door. Of course, those exterior shots of King's Cross were actually filmed next door at St. Pancras Station. Not really sure why they did that, but St. Pancras is beautiful. Now, personally, I think London is magical on its own. But if you want to take that to the next level, the Warner Brothers Studio Tour in Watford is a must. The pinnacle of your Harry Potter experience in London is at the Warner Brothers Studio Tour in Watford. Here, you can actually step onto the real sets used over the course of the Harry Potter film series, and there are dozens to experience. I exaggerate not, there is nothing like that sensation of stepping into your own childhood imagination in real life. It feels like, and I realize how corny this might sound, magic. Let's start with perhaps the most iconic, the Great Hall of Hogwarts. When the doors to the Great Hall of Hogwarts opened in front of me for the first time, I could have fainted. Walking on the actual floors that I had spent my life fantasizing about walking on, standing in a spot that seemingly only existed in my imagination or on a screen, was out of body. I remember feeling such a high and a rush of adrenaline. This was my third time in the hall, which I've seen previously in its traditional state and decorated for Christmas. This time, the Great Hall was decked out for Halloween, floating jack-o'-lanterns and all. The Gryffindor common room and boys' dormitory are just as cozy as you imagine in the films, although a bit smaller than they appear on camera. Also a bit smaller than you may have imagined on camera, thanks to those wide lenses and cinematic perspectives, is the headmaster's office. Fun fact, all of those books you see along the shelves are old telephone books. A recent addition to the tour is a chunk of the Slytherin common room. I have to say, I would love to see them recreate Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw's common rooms for display, even if they were never seen in the films. Dark, damp, and mysterious, the potions classroom set really echoes the gloom of Professor Snape's tenure as the potions master. Believe it or not, this is one of those sets that actually appears larger than it does on screen. Quite the opposite of the gloom of the potions classroom is the cozy, low-ceilinged Burrow, where scarves self-knit and the dishes scrub themselves. What a dream. Hagrid's hut is about the size you'd imagine, but fun fact here, it's actually only one of two. In the films, one hut was used for the shots with the trio and another smaller hut for shots of Hagrid to create that forced perspective. In shots where they're together, let's just say there was some movie magic. Let's just take a stop here and appreciate one of the most delicious beverages on the planet. Butterbeer. In a little souvenir plastic mug, this creamy vanilla and butterscotch soda, topped in the thickest, most mustache-inducing whipped cream, is like drinking pure happiness. To do it while gazing out over some of the most famous sets from Harry Potter film lore is truly something special. While the original exterior was filmed on location, from the Chamber of Secrets onwards, No. 4 Privet Drive was recreated right here at Leadenhall Studios. The house is quite small actually, and it really adds some perspective to A, how tight filming must have been, and B, the wild effect of wide-angle camera lenses. The Hogwarts Greenhouses are another new addition to the studio tour that I really loved. Especially with a misty London afternoon sky, it can feel quite cozy in here, and it is indeed very warm. The little mandrakes scream at you, as you might expect. Another set that's a bit narrower and tighter than it appears on the screen is Diagon Alley, and while it's not larger than life in the way that you might imagine, those old cobbled streets and Victorian storefronts are loaded with props, posters, and interiors that feel quite believable. If you do want to experience that larger-than-life feeling, though, the Diagon Alley at the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in Orlando has you covered. The set of Gringotts is easily one of the most impressive sets in the entire studio tour. The grand marble hall, although it is not at all real marble, is cavernous and echoey. The detail is just incredible, especially because a good 50% of the set was never actually seen on screen. Even the little ledgers are filled with wizarding transactions. If the timing catches you just right, you even get a peek at a dragon. The pinnacle of not just the Harry Potter studio tour, but of the Harry Potter sites of London, is the 1:24 scale model of Hogwarts Castle, used for the exterior shots in the films. The castle is so much larger than any picture or video can do justice, and it's incredibly surreal. The details are exquisite, from the stone to the shingles to the boulders to the trees and even the little engravings inside the boathouse. Depending on the season, the castle may be dusted in snow or cast beneath the chilling, bright green dark mark. As you stroll the panoramic balcony view of the castle, the Hogwarts hymn, as heard in the Goblet of Fire, plays softly in the background. Over and over again, you have to remind yourself that this is what you grew up seeing on screen, and that you're actually there, in person. One more thing on the studio tour. The food is a bit expensive, but I did try pumpkin pasties, which I've wanted to try basically my whole life. They're sweet, loaded with pumpkin and nutmeg, and accompanied by a dense Cool Whip rich enough to crash your sugar high and give you the best nap of your life on the train ride back to London. Now, there are a couple of sites in London that I missed. For one, the Australia House was the original Gringotts, but entry wasn't allowed, at least at the time. Another big one is the London Zoo, where Harry accidentally releases a python and traps Dudley in its exhibit in the first film. Oh well, there's always next time. Now stay tuned for more as I head to the Scottish Highlands to discover more Potter sites, and also check out my full London travel vlog where I immerse you into the city of magic via all 5 senses. Until then, thanks for watching.